I've always been a bio kid. I was the person lugging around in 8th grade, and when I saw this program opening in when I was a 9th grader, then it looked absolutely like it looked like my home. And so I enrolled in the classes and started taking them, and I loved it right away. It was everything I had imagined it to be and more.
I decided to take this course because I liked Apple. That's my only reason. And I took the course, and I realized how much I actually really did love Apple because I got taught how values connect to technology, and it drew me into technology in a way that I've never really experienced before. And so I decided that I wanted to stay at the Innovation Center, and I wanted to explore more of what it could offer me.
I mean, I had no intention of going into computer engineering until I saw the class offering. I was like, oh yeah, computers are cool, but then I took this class, the CompTIA A+, and that was super cool. And I was like, okay, I want to do this as a career. And it really shoves lots of students into great career paths, and there's a market for jobs that needs to be filled, and that's what the Innovation Center is for.
The Innovation Center has provided me with so many new opportunities that have made it so that my goals and what I aim to achieve in the future is a lot closer than I would have thought. Many different clubs are offered here too. I'm also involved in Cyber Patriot, which has gotten me into just exploring the realm of different possibilities that there really is available to somebody like me and just an average high school student.
So the Innovation Center is like a really good opportunity because not a lot of people have the opportunity to go to a STEM center and gain work experience from early high school.
Definitely explore your options here at the Innovation Center because there are so many different possibilities and so many different things that you can try out here. And I mean, it might happen to be something that you really didn't know you were interested in before that can just help you shoot for the stars.
The number of programs here allow you to experience and explore what you're interested in. You don't have to choose one specific area of interest. You can always explore different programs at the Innovation Center. I think that's really important to know when you're starting out at the Innovation Center.
I think this is going to help my future because I get the experience with learning with how the entrepreneurial zone works and what being an entrepreneur is, and how it can help me create my own business in the future.
All of my opportunities are paid, which is amazing, and it offers experience, just work experience. Now when I go to apply to a software development team in the future, if I'm interested in that, they're going to see that I was a part of the Innovation Center and that I was on a tech team and fixed computers, and that I was a QA engineer intern, and that's going to set me apart from a bunch of other applicants. And it was all because I just liked Apple and wanted to take a class here. And the Innovation Center just took me and was like, okay, then here's all these other opportunities that are going to help you in the future. And I just kind of ran with that and just kept coming back for more.
I really love our community here. I think the Innovation Center attracts a certain type of student, one that's passionate to learn, one that's willing to make discoveries, that's willing to make mistakes. And I've made a lot of friends here and a lot of people who have similar personalities and similar ideas. And it just seems like there's always something new and exciting going on here. I feel like we're always on that fringe of what's possible and what's impossible. You know, the Innovation Center is right on that line right there. And so it's just really cool to see across all departments what everyone's working on, and then how all of those departments kind of weave together to create one building and one community that's just working toward a common goal.
All right, I hope you guys were able to follow that pretty good. Okay, we're still able. Ed, thumbs up, you can hear me?
Yes.
Or Steve? Okay, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that and hearing from the students. I forget to mention we're here in Longmont. If you know Longmont, where the museum is and the rec center, we're just east of that on Quail Road. What's kind of neat is this fall we'll have a bond election. Well, one thing to mention to you too is we're in our 10th year as a program. We started with 6,000 square feet at the what's now called the CETC, Career Enrichment Technology Center. That used to be the CDC, Career Development Center, if you're familiar with that. They're on Sunset. That's our more traditional vocational program. And they have, been around about 52 years. I probably should share my video, I think, too. Let's see if I can do that. There we go. So the people watching can see me. And so we were there for about 4 years when we started, and we started it through a federal grant. So after a couple of years, the district said, hey, we kind of like what's happening, and we'd like to have a district-wide innovation center. And in 2016, we had a bond. And so on that bond was the project for the building you see in the video, or that was in the video, about 50,000 square feet. So it passed, and we opened in 2018. So we're in our 6th year in the building. Already bursting at the seams, because you can imagine when we started, we served just one feeder system of about 1,400 kids. That was a Skyline feeder, and going from that to 33,000 students is a bit of a jump. So we're pretty busy, and you'll see kind of the things what we're doing. So if you want to come by, and I'm happy to host one of these meetings there sometime too. That'd be pretty fun. So Chuck, Steve, and I can talk about that. So here's this big overview of kind of what we do. It's the 3 main areas of our work. We explore, we educate, we provide experience. So by explore, think of a funnel, right? Top of a funnel. It's wide, and you want to be able to capture things in that top of the funnel. And so we do that through things like field trips. So this year we'll have held 60 field trips for elementary kids during the school year to our facility. That's about 70 kids a field trip. So there'll be about 3,000 students who visit us this summer, K through 5. Every elementary gets at least 2 field trips during the school year for that. They do activities, design challenges, STEM challenges. They learn about what we do. So that's a great touch point with that age group. We offer summer camps. So we're doing enrollment right now for our summer camps. We are already at over 600 enrollments. We all have a capacity of about 750 kids. That's elementary through high school, and that's June and July. So that's a really powerful way to reach kids in the summer. We support a lot of competitions that are STEM oriented. Our biggest is our competitive robotics, which is VEX Robotics. That's K through 12 this year. We had 260 teams across the district. That's about 1,000 students. That's a robotics school, right? That's the size of a school in our district. And we hosted about 22 tournaments. We've got 19 teams heading to the World Championships. In the about 10 years, 12 years that we've been doing this as a district program, we've had probably 5 to 6 teams finish in the top 4 in the world. Our sister program, Upper Creek Robotics, which you might be familiar with, 2 years ago, they won world championships in 2 divisions simultaneously. So our work here in St. Vrain and the Longmont community is really, truly world class, which is really exciting. That might be a volunteer opportunity for folks because we always need judges, which is a really fun time. Imagine judging 3rd graders talking about their robot. You just can't beat it. It's a ton of fun. We also do like cybersecurity competitions, things like that. And then we have a mobile lab. So the mobile lab, think our building, but on wheels. So it's like a 45-foot RV decked out to bring STEM to communities. So they go out to schools. They go out beyond the school district. We've gone down to Alamosa. All those activities are typically STEM based, although we're doing like music now as well. And it's just a way to engage our community with what's happening in schools. So that's our explore, right? The big top of the funnel, try to capture as many kids as possible. Well, as they start getting into that funnel and start getting interested in things, we want to educate them. That means we want to develop their skills and knowledge. And that's where our classes come into play. So we offer classes during the school year, and they're for high school students primarily. I didn't mention too, we have 10 divisions, and I'll talk about those divisions here shortly, but each division has a pathway of classes from element or introductory level to advanced levels. So that's, we have concurrent enrollment industry certifications. So explore, educate. Now, when you all know when you learn something, the time you really understand is when you have to apply it, right? So that's the experience part. We want kids to have authentic opportunities to apply what they're learning for real problems and real clients. And that's our work-based learning model, which I'll talk about as well. So those are 3 E's: explore, educate, experience. That combination, in my opinion, is extremely powerful. Is what's made us a successful program. Underlying all that is partnerships, as I mentioned earlier, like this kind of conversation and opportunity to work with groups like you. And we partner with industry, we partner with higher ed, we partner with community groups, we partner with nonprofits. And that informs our work, keeps us making sure we're heading the right direction, and also allows us to tap into your expertise, because many of our staff, they're coming from K-12 education, so they're not engineers. They have a passion for it, but they only can bring the students so far. But if we get someone like you to come in to work with our students, that gets them at a really incredible high level. And then the other role we have is to be that engine of innovation within the district. So we serve as a R&D or district sandbox to try things out. A good example of that lately, the last year, is artificial intelligence. We've been doing artificial intelligence for about 6-7 years, but when ChatGPT and generative AI started coming up last year, and our district leadership wanted to lean into it, we had the expertise to help work with our professional development, develop all kinds of engagements with them, community engagements, work with our leadership to teach them about artificial intelligence, so forth and so on. So now we've gone from being kind of just this, AI happening in our space, and now AI is starting to happen more broadly across the district, and that advances the whole system, right? So that's an exciting part of our work too. Any questions up to this point, or anytime raise your hand or holler? Okay. All right, let's talk about classes real quick. These are for grades 9 through 12. Typically, we have had middle school kids come to us, but they need transportation. Kids across the whole district, Lyons, Meade, Erie, Dacono, they can take classes with us. We do have transportation during the day, right? So that helps provide some equity for access. We don't have any prerequisites, so it doesn't matter. Well, for the most part, we might have some classes that require prerequisite because of technical requirements. But for the most part, we're like, if you want to take a class, come take a class. And we don't expect kids to get locked in any one focus area or pathway. They might do that, or they might just explore and poke around and take a bunch of classes in a bunch of our focus areas. They're 1 semester classes, and they're what we call single block, and it's a 0.5 elective credit that they earn through that, except for our bioscience, where kids can earn science credit too. And you can see the schedule. If you're ever interested to come during the day, you can get our contact information from Chuck, and we'll just do a tour. We also have a link on our website. If you're interested, you can go there to book a tour as well, once a month. Here are focus areas. We have 10 currently. So aeronautics, bioscience, cybersecurity, robotics, artificial intelligence, entrepreneurship, video production, virtual reality, and digital design. We have a P-Teach pathway, so that's pretty exciting because that's developing our pipeline for teachers. Music innovation is just starting to bubble up. And then we have something we call industry certifications. So think like Cisco, right? You have professional certifications. So that's where kids can learn at their own time, at their own pace, with support from a facilitator and mentors from industry. So each of these focus areas have what we call a program manager. So they teach, they run our project teams, they develop partnerships. So they can have a couple different hats. And again, these all have a range of classes or pathway of classes. One of our challenges is how to stay current, right? And then also at some point, do we need to, sunset any program and to make room for another one that's more relevant and more pressing. So an example is we used to do ICT, a couple classes, didn't have high enrollment, and other things are coming up where we're like, hey, for example, quantum, that's coming our way. So we're going to have to figure out how, I don't know what that's going to look like, but we're going to have to make some room for quantum. So we stopped offering those ICT classes, even though they're valuable. It's just for us, it's like that's not really in our wheelhouse anymore. So that's sort of something where we have to pay attention to as a program. Here's just some classes you can see, like intro level, the biomedical engineering, applied robotics, virtual reality, our UAS flight concepts. That's where kids learn how to they earn their Part 107 license to fly drones. So, and once they do that, they're qualified to work on our drone team, which I'll talk about shortly. And so if you go to our website, you can check out our course catalog of classes, as well as learn more about the pathways too. Any questions about our classes? This is that Educate E, right? Where we help develop the skills and knowledge of the kids. Cool. We do have concurrent enrollment. So I don't know if this is fully complete, but I think we've got about 15 classes. And so the cool thing is that this is at no cost for students. All right, so they enroll in the class, they meet the requirements, they get college credit. So they can matriculate, let's say they do the aeronautics, they can move on and continue in that aeronautics program at Ames and be a couple semesters ahead, or 1 or 2 semesters ahead, because they've done the classes with us. Our PTH, actually, there's so many classes that they credit they can earn through UC Denver. They get about half of their undergraduate years out of the way at no cost. Pretty cool, huh? So that we're pretty proud of that. And that way they only have a couple more years to go. So concurrent enrollment is pretty. We need a slide too on certifications, but we also have certifications. So if I think of our drone program, students can earn that Part 107. Our cybersecurity, they earn a Python certificate, so coding, basics coding, or using a Linux system. So those industry certifications are really powerful, as you know, and they can open up doors for kids that maybe otherwise wouldn't be available to them too. All right, so, I mentioned Educate is where they're developing skills and knowledge. It's that application that really is the sweet spot too. And so I think we have traditional, what we call work-based learning opportunities for students. So think internships. Apprenticeships are getting a lot of interest. So you'll probably start hearing about that in the news if you haven't already heard about that. And those are great. We've got a couple of those. Those are more structured. But we kind of have our own homebrew version of work-based learning, which is what we call project teams. And so it's kind of a special space that gives us a lot of flexibility. And what students say about our project teams is that they get a chance to really test drive a career, but they know they can make mistakes, right? So they have accountability because they're working on behalf of a client or for us, but they know they're still learning. So if they make a mistake, that's okay. We can, for the most part, be able to work around that kind of thing too. So again, these are opportunities for kids to learn about what it's like to work as a videographer, right? And we have actually, I think, over 30 project teams right now, and over 200 student designers that are paid. So they're employees of the district, and they go through a job application project. So we're looking at spinning up a project team tied to ham radio. So the magic formula is we get someone, an educator, so we call them a project manager, and they're a facilitator, right? They're helping put that group together, move it along, support the students. Then we need motivated students, and so they have to apply. So we just created a job application for our initial ham radio project team, and they will apply like they would apply to any other job, go through an interview process, and then be selected. And then those first few kids are going to help them figure out the plan for how we could create some opportunities around ham radio. Kind of cool, huh? So they get that leadership experience. Again, it's facilitated by the project manager. And here's the real magic, is where folks like you come in, right? So Chris Rugg is our project manager that Chuck and Steve have gotten a chance to meet. He doesn't know anything about this stuff. I don't know anything about this stuff, but you guys do. So we put you in that mix, and then that's a really powerful. You got a motivated student, supportive educator, and you have an engaged mentor who has that technical expertise. It really produces some amazing results too. And I'll share some results, some examples of that in a little bit. And again, they get paid, right? They get paid. And some of our projects, well, our gold standard is a project would be client-based, right? And so the client is engaging or contracting with our students and paying them to do that work. So here are two examples of that. Our video arts team was engaged by City of Longmont this summer to develop a series of social media videos for downtown businesses, right? So the students are going out, they're meeting with the clients, they're interviewing them to develop requirements, and then also out of that, developing a scope of work, including deliverables and a timeline. And then once they have that contract, and it's a legal document that is created, they are then going to do that work. And there's a price, right? There's a price agreed upon. And then they complete that work and deliver it, and they get paid for it, right? So that's real world work. We know from our students year after year, we have lots of both qualitative data, testimonials from students, as well as just from surveys, that this really helps them figure out what they want to do before they graduate high school. So we survey seniors every year. And, you know, one of the questions we ask them is, we also track what they end up doing. And there's really a 98% correlation between what they're doing on project teams and our classes with the direction they go after high school. Now, there are other factors, of course, right? But that's a very strong correlation. And the flip side, too, is there's time kids try something out, and then they say, you know, I was interested, but I don't want to be an electrical engineer, right? Because they see that's just not their cup of tea. And so that's good, too, because they don't spend 2 years of college figuring out and paying that tuition. So that's our project teams. Any questions about this? Anyone online? I really think this is the heartbeat of our program. I think it's extremely unique. I don't know of anywhere else in the country that's doing work-based learning quite this way. And here's some examples. So here's our video arts team. So you can see what they're doing. I'll let you look at that slide real quick. They also know how to live stream, right? So if you ever have an event that you want live stream, we could contract with you guys to do that work. They're really good at it. This is our studio here. Here's Austin. He's the head of our live stream team. This is our UAS program. So the drones and their pathway. This might have changed a little bit. They do a lot of contract-based work. So FCI Construction, for example, has contract with them to go to sites and get video footage, as well as they have the software that can, like, for example, figure out the volume of a pile of gravel kind of thing too. And we just got a LiDAR grant from a CDOT grant. So we got to figure out how to use that. So everyone has experience using a LiDAR drone, come talk to me, because that'd be awesome to have your help. Here's a super cool thing. We could maybe do something with you guys on this. Is everyone familiar with the idea of a drone light show? All right, think fireworks, except through drones. So we are going to we're spinning up our own drone light show. We are going to be leasing 300 drones, and our first performance will be the 4th of July here for City of Longmont. So stay tuned on that too. Huh? No. That's correct. Well, and if you live in the Southeast, if you live close to the Innovation Center last night, you might have seen a show. Everyone freaks out in the neighborhoods close by too. But a huge amount of potential of that too. So that's going to be super duper cool. Private pathway, kids can earn their basic level of being a pilot through our program. We have a certified flight instructor as the instructor for this. And they're also building an airplane. It's an RV-12 aircraft. We got a grant from Boeing. So the kids have almost fully assembled the fuselage. They got the wings assembled. So at some point, I'll get put together and we'll have knitted an airplane. Isn't that kind of cool? Again, that's the mentors that guide the kids to that work and really make sure, you know, that aircraft is flight worthy. There's our virtual reality and digital design pathway. Relevant application of this field of virtual, or actually XR, augmented reality. Extended reality is augmented reality. And so it's being used in industry, right, to help train or help technicians do their work. So that'd be an interesting application. I was thinking for ham radio, right? If you have people going through learning the technical, like, I don't know, using the radio or setting things up or doing the electronics, that could be an AR application. So, but exciting field, lots of cool projects that they've done. Here's an example. They focus a lot on design thinking. So this was competition sponsored by Michelin, the tire company, on using design thinking process to improve the world with a purpose. So I don't remember what this project was. I think it was like a sustainable, like what would a sustainable community look like too? So kids develop that in a virtual space and then presented that too. Here's some other cool, funky projects they're working on. Somewhere in Longmont is, I don't know where this is, but I think it's this picture here that they, I don't remember how this project works. Basically, they want to be able to allow people to know what's behind the walls. You know, sometimes you see buildings and they have plexiglass and you see all the pipes and wires and that kind of thing too. So this is a project for the city of Longmont, somewhere along Main Street, where the kids created a virtual reality experience for people to come up. They see the bench, it gets their interest, and then they'll scan that QR code. You can see what the city was asking them to see too, right? This is one of my favorite parts of our digital design, which is comic books. That's also maybe a way we can engage, then I think of it. So this was a project. Let me go back in time a little bit. Am I going on too long or is good? Okay. When I get to robotics, you hear about our aquatic robotics, like underwater robotics. Very cool. Middle of Colorado. We done that, right? So we got involved doing that about 7 years ago because the Denver Zoo came to us and said, hey, there's a scientist we support in South America who researches the Lake Titicaca frog. Now, this is a fully aquatic frog, and it's in a very deep lake at a high altitude. It's really hard for them to study because you can't scuba dive. It's very dangerous to scuba dive. So his idea or his request was, could your team of students develop and deliver an underwater drone that the scientists could use to do research? So there was an open source kit called an OpenROV. I found a retired engineer who had built submarines. That's handy to have here in Longmont. Recruited some kids, and we got 2 of those kits. They worked on it, took some pretty good engineering to really make sure they functioned properly. Tested it at Lagerman, Union Reservoir, went up to Dillon Reservoir in the mountains before we sent one off to the scientists. And a couple kids were fluent in Spanish, but then they Skyped to the scientists to help them use it, right? So that was a pretty cool experience. Kids learned a lot. As we were doing this, like let's say Union Reservoir or up at Dillon Reservoir, those people came to us. They said, hey, this would be a very useful technology. So our kids, who kind of were engineer oriented, said, hey, this is not a very good kit. We could design a better on our own. So that started our aquatic robotics program, which is kind of cool. And I kid you not, there was, we want the kids to go present on their work. So we were presenting at a bar in Niwot. And this is a bar that would do a geek night, like once a month kind of thing too. So obviously I had parent permission for that one. But there was a scientist from Boulder who is an environmental scientist. And on the side, he has a project working on research in a watershed up in the Andes, not too far from Lake Titicaca. And it's about 16,000 feet altitude. And the watershed feeds into the Amazon. It's got a 10-mile long lake as part of it. So because of that lake, and he heard about our ROV, he was interested to see if that would be something that'd help him do his work, both environmental research, and they were starting to find all these really cool pre-Incan artifacts in the watershed, and some underwater, right? So he came to our presentation, right? So again, there's that partnership theme. At any rate, we got involved with him, and one of the projects we did for him and his team was develop this comic book. So they wanted to do environmental outreach in the Andes for students who don't get that kind of science. And one of the things that's very destructive in these communities is they have stereotypes about amphibians. So if they see a frog or they see a toad, they kill it, right? They associate it with very bad things. So a graduate student working on his team wanted to educate them about the value of these kind of animals in their ecosystem. So our team worked with her to develop this comic book, did an English language version, a Spanish language version. They made a pitch to the Peruvian consul who came all the way up to the Innovation Center. He provided funding, printed them out in Peru. She went down there, couldn't get our kids there. It's a really complicated thing to do. But then she went in, and you can see the picture of the kids that she presented the comic books to. So think about that. You're in high school, and your work is going halfway around the world to help students in an impoverished area learn about science. I think that's pretty special. I think that's pretty meaningful. So that's an example of, that's one of my favorite projects I think that we've done. Here's another Longmont thing. I'll move on. Oh, well, we can watch this. Do I have sound? I don't know if I have sound.
It was tough, but I was triumphant. We made it to the final match against Chicago's Inglewood High team and won. I was so proud of myself and my team. We even became the world champion interscholastic football team. I'm telling you, it was a dream come true.
All right, I do want to tell this story. So the middle picture is a mural on the building in downtown Longmont. And about 100 years ago, we had a football team called the Longmont Beat Diggers, right? And they actually went on to be national champions. So this I can't remember who this character is, but he's one of the players from there on that mural. And so they wanted to kind of bring it to life a little bit more. So the voice you heard was actually a student who's a special education student. He's on the spectrum, right? But he loves making voices. He wants to be a radio voice. Okay. So that was his jam, is to be the voice of this person from 100 years ago. So I'm not sure where they're quite at, but I think at some point that QR code will be available for anyone who walking past this mural to kind of get a little bit more depth and experience with what they're seeing on that mural. So that's kind of neat, I think. Oh, sorry. There we go. Bioscience pathway. They're doing all kinds of great things. In fact, our teacher, our program manager, is down in Houston right now for a NASA competition called the NASA Hatch or Hutch. Forget. Anyway, so they qualified to go. So I don't know where they're at, somewhere in the final rounds, and they get to see, is it not Cape Canaveral? What's Cape? Johnson Space Center, thanks. So they get to see Johnson Space Center too. So that's one of the things they do, is like bioscience kind of related things, bioastronautics. They do experimental science, so kids learn what it takes to work in a wet lab. Like, how do you work with all these tools and the chemicals and things like that. And then conservation data science is really the sweet spot, so they can earn water quality certification. And then there's one other, I'm forgetting what that certification is for. But the work that they do as a project team is super duper cool. Going back to the aquatic robotics work with the frog, right? So the frog led to the comic book, and then that led to fish. So remember the flood about 10 years ago, right? So it really damaged the St. Vrain, particularly in the Longmont area. And there's a native species called the northern red-bellied dace. It's an indicator species. So when it's struggling, they know, the ecosystem of the river is struggling, right? So the state of Colorado and Boulder County Parks and Open Space recognized that due to the flood primarily, the species was struggling, and they listed it as endangered. So the state of Colorado started rearing it down in Alagosa, trying to, restore the population. So talking with our partners in the Parks and Open Space, there are two people actually, Mickey, who's a shark researcher who lives here in Longmont. So think about that, a shark researcher. And she's heads up the Ocean First Institute. And her husband is a field biologist for Parks and Open Space. And so we concocted this idea of raising the dace in classrooms here in Longmont. So we started working with lions, and we had tanks at Innovation Center. And we literally got the fish like 3 days before COVID hit. So it was kind of complicated. We had to scramble, move all the fish to the Innovation Center. Long story short, we did that fish rearing for 30 years. We raised over 3,000 fish and released them into a couple waterways here in the area. Very successful, but a lot of work. But the kids were learning how to do water quality testing, how to care for the fish. They're working side by side with field biologists in this work. So that's a really beneficial experience for them. We since moved on to frogs. There's a northern leopard frog, which is a animal of concern in Colorado. And so right now we have a whole bunch of tadpoles swimming around in our tanks. And as they grow out, we'll move them to some larger tanks. And then we'll turn them back to the ponds where we harvested the eggs. And that's together with Colorado Parks and Wildlife staff, with Boulder County Parks and Open Space staff, right? I think that's so valuable, right? That partnership between students and those experts in those fields as well. and they're doing meaningful work. So it's not focused on the technology, it's focused on what you can do with the technology to help serve your community. So that's something we really appreciate. I'll move on. Oh, they also do virtual reality. That might be a good one to show. This one. Oh, hold on. Okay, so you can see right here, that's a cockroach. And this is an app to remote control the cockroach. Seriously. You guys can do that with Chuck if you need. We can talk about that. I guess you can use your hand to remote control it too. It's not working so great. But it's a neuroscience experiment, right? And cockroaches, they regenerate limbs and stuff very quickly. So what they do here is they snip off an antenna and a little bit of an implant they can do, and a little backpack on that cockroach. And there's an app where you can stimulate the antenna, and that's where they learn about the neuroscience of a cockroach, right? So kind of fun. And they have virtual reality where they can see really high density video scans or virtual reality scans of the brain, right? So they get into the brain, and then they get to work with professionals or experts from across the country that in neuroscience too. So cool stuff there. That's pretty neat. Okay, there we go. Entrepreneurship is a kind of a cross-cutting program. So we want kids to develop an entrepreneurial mindset and take what they're learning maybe in those technical fields and bring that to what's something, how do you sell that idea? How do you sell yourself? So they start with learning a mindset, and then they do like a strengths assessment, personality assessment kind of thing, Clifton Strengths. They learn about networking, design thinking, those kinds of things. And then they learn about how you take an idea and bring it to making a pitch, right? So we have a pitch room. It's actually literally the highest room in our building. And they learn about those skills. I mentioned the comic book, and they had to pitch to the proving console. That's a really important life skill, right? How to sell yourself, sell your ideas. And then how do you manage a project? So they learn about project management, and then business analytics is the newest class that Hannah's offering in that pathway. Here's the kind of a neat thing that they're just getting into. We have a store that we have in our front, and they manage that store. So trying to figure out like what are some products that we can offer in that store that people want to buy, right? That makes a lot of sense. And so they had feedback from some student at one of our STEM fairs that something relating to Legos would be kind of cool. So they started tossing around the idea of like, oh, maybe we can help develop a line of Legos that relate to the work we're doing at the Innovation Center, like the fish or the frog or something like that. And then people could build a Lego thing, but learn about how to save frogs or something, right? So they reach out to Lego, and next week or 2 weeks from now, we're gonna have a conversation with someone in Denmark about this idea, and we're gonna see where this is gonna bring us. Isn't that kind of cool? So we have that kind of global stage again too, which is pretty special. Oh, sure what's going on here. Oh, well, that's probably, I think that's the bulk. Yeah, I think that's everything in my presentation. So, yeah, that's I think a good snapshot. I've already taken a lot of time too, but I hope you have a sense of kind of what we do. We're a pretty unique program, right? There's, so it's sometimes hard for people to wrap their brains about what it is that we actually do. And, I think to wrap up is the career stuff is great. The technical stuff is great. But when I really think about the kids, we're reaching at a deep level. We're helping them kind of really figure out who they are and be able to what I call flourish, right? They have confidence in themselves. They have a vision for themselves, and they have the capacity to kind of enact that vision. And I think that's something we really need in our world today too. So if there's anything I'm proud about, that's probably what I'm most proud about too. So if you have any questions or comments or anything, I'd love to hear them.
Good. Well, that sure looks like a step beyond VOTEC school.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wish I had that in high school.
No fooling.
Yeah, when they get college credits, Axel, toward, from high school to college, that's tremendous.
Yeah, I didn't mention the cost savings. If we look at the P-Teach, where I mentioned they get about 2 years, that's probably $15,000 to $20,000 at least, and no cost to them. So definitely high value for that. We got a question back over here. Thank you.
So do you see other school districts in Colorado adopting this or talking to you about it?
We do. Hold on a second. Let me.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. Remarkable program, remarkable integration through the program, especially getting at what the kids want to do, but also giving them some life skills that, I'm sitting here thinking, well, when did I learn how to do that? Oh, I was about 50. I'm not being facetious. It's quite remarkable. So I applaud you. Really, it's wonderful. Go ahead, Bob.
Oh, I was just asking if other school districts have approached them and have talked about replicating that in their areas.
Yeah, I think so. I mentioned we started 10 years ago, and a couple of years in, just overall the visibility, the district itself, but the grant that we had was bringing a lot of attention, and so we started getting visits. And so since then, there been a mushroom field of innovation centers, not only across Colorado, but across the country, and actually some global connections too. So like Cherry Creek, for example, they came and visited multiple times, learned about the building. And the building is something you really have to kind of come and see it, because it's really, the architects did an amazing job on it, I think. So they built an innovation center. It's about twice as big. It doesn't have the same energy to me. It's great stuff. It's more of a true vocational kind of program. But you do see innovation centers really across the state and more broadly now too. So, but I think we're kind of at the forefront of that.
Very cool.
Any other questions, or is there something we're missing? Right? Obviously ham radio pathway. That'll fit into a couple of our stuff. Yeah.
We got to get together with Chris and find out what his project plans are going to be. I'd love to, I missed your Friday meeting, but I'm going to have to catch up with Chuck and find out how as a club we can help the kids and bring some younger blood to the amateur radio clubs, and then find out about what they can do, because I mean it's phenomenal what I've been seeing on this presentation. So I want to thank you a lot.
And Steve, I want to thank you for helping kick this off even more after I started it. And actually, I know it's been a couple of years we've been working on this and trying to get this, but we're getting there. And I appreciate the partnership. And that's why I appreciate Steve getting you to come in and present, because as a club, we're going to be looking for your help. We need those mentors. Okay. We need the knowledge to share depending on what we do. Okay. So I will be hitting the club up and saying, hey, here's opportunities to give back to the community and give to our younger generation. Okay. Our club, we've got a lot of knowledge. We've got IEEEs. We've got, I believe one member is actually, still a member, is a PhD in electronics. We have, it's just a wealth of knowledge. Computer science, we've got everywhere. Robotics, everybody, RF, we got people that work with cell phone companies, things like that. There is just so much knowledge out there that these kids can absorb and help them decide what they want to do in the future. Okay. And I think this is a great program because it's helping develop our future. We're kind of out of that millennial type, living in a basement type thing gone now, hopefully. and we can rebuild and get back to where, we should be. To be honest, this in this country, we need this type of stuff. Right now, I just read an article the other day, and a lot of people saw it who have technology stocks. Our technology stocks went down today because the Chinese are now pushing to produce more chips in country, and they're not going to export. They're staying in country. I know I work for AMD. Our stock went down, I think, $7 today on the announcement last night. So it's coming. How do we fight things like that? I don't want to say fight, but how do we combat things like that? We got to get our younger generation involved. We got to come up with new technology, come up with new ideas. And Longmont has a lot of technology involved in it, from companies to the STEM. Here at Innovation Center, we had Xilinx, which was purchased by AMD now. There is so much light manufacturing out here that do things. Niwat, there's companies out there that make radar systems, things like that. We've got aviation with Vance, which we expand Vance, but that's another story in itself. Things like that. It's just opportunities are out there. We just need to get the younger generation involved with our support. And I think Longmont, surrounding areas, Colorado could be a major technology state. And it's getting there now, and it is there now. We've got 3 major schools. Even DU's got some good educational programs out there. You got CU, CSU, and Northern Colorado. And what was it on? Yeah, School of Mines. And there's not like there's not any mining going on in the state of Colorado. There's lots of mining going on. That's where most of these oil rigs come from, is the people that go to School of Mines, things like that. And other things going, digging for gold, silver, copper. There's still gold in the mountains, whether we believe it or not, things like that. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to help give back to our community as well. So I will be looking for volunteers to help. If you can make yourself available and, like our Elmer program, let's see what we can do to get these kids and help, make the future a lot brighter. So we can go buy the stocks for their companies and we can live nicely on retirement. So, anybody got any other questions? Comments? If you do have a suggestion, one of the things I was looking at is maybe like, start out basic with antenna building or something like that. We've talked about possibly maybe doing an ISS contact with what the project team builds. So instead of us providing that stuff, kids actually make it and build it. So those are some of the things we're coming up with, and I'll work with Chris on that and see how we can go with that. Which would potentially involve robotics, because we have to follow the ISS with some type of arm or something, rotor type scenario. Basically the possibilities are endless. This is what we can come up with and try to help out. So I want to thank you for the presentation and working with us, and we appreciate it. And I will get people to step up and help out. I'll be there.
Thank you, Chuck and Steve. Again, appreciate both of you really kind of keeping with this. And the neat thing is the way we will structure this project team is the kids will be the ones who help develop the vision for it as well. So that gets the buy-in. And last thing I'd want to mention is, we have a bond for the district coming up this November. The bond is how we raise money for construction projects. So we got a lot of needs because our population, particularly out east, is growing. So we'll need some new building, and we need HVAC upgrades and things like that. It also will include an expansion of our current innovation center, double the size of it. So would love to have you guys come be there sometime. We could do a tour and you can meet, our place, and you can actually see where all this stuff is happening too. So don't know. Yeah. Well, there's not many hangars available at Vance, I think. And, I don't know if he'll fly because of liability and PR kind of considerations. We're ways away from that, but we'll see. Keep your fingers crossed too. Right. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate your interest. So thanks. Thanks, Chuck. Yeah.
So anybody got anything else this evening before we wrap up the general meeting?
No, that's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. So
if we put our minds to it, I shouldn't do this because I can't volunteer, but Yeah, I'm thinking of Rip and Ellie and what they used to do at their house on Saturday mornings. They were getting grade school kids licensed with their tech, and I bet our buddy down in El Paso could probably put a curriculum together. And you'd go to Rip and Ellie's on a Saturday morning. I'd walk in and they'd hand me something. Go here, go in this room and talk about this.
Yeah.
And so anybody on the call here tonight could just take that in hand, walk in, and start helping the kids out with stuff. I'm sure we could take them from zero to tech in a semester.
Oh yeah. I mean, these are, they're sponges. They're ready to learn. And that's the cool thing I like about the program is there's so many different opportunities. And I wish I would have had that, 35, 40 years ago when I was in school, because it'd been nice to know what I really wanted to do. Not saying I don't enjoy what I do. I do by any means, and AMD takes care of me, but, it would give me other opportunities. But back then, of course, we didn't have computers. We still had typewriters. Well, we had computers, but they were, slow, and little keyboards and typewriters and punch cards. So things like that. But it's been an interesting learning experience. Hey, Gary. Okay. Cool. I didn't know that. That's something that Jerry might have known, but probably not history someone. Yeah, well, I know you, Gary, and we appreciate it. You'll be our new historian. We're looking for a new historian. You help build a club and talk about the past and think about it. Let me know. I like the politics. I should have. They want me to run for. I've been actually asked a couple of times by certain people if I want to run for mayor of Firestone. So we'll see what happens. I might do that one year. Little gig for a couple of years, but all right. Nobody's got anything else. Everybody, thank you for participating this evening. It's been great seeing you again. I will start sending out more emails for events, things like that, so you can mark the calendars. And remember, our next big one, of course, is Field Day in June, the 22nd, 23rd. So mark your calendars and wait for the website to be updated and put stuff on it. And again, if you ever have any questions, you know how to reach me at K0ITP, Kilo Zero India Tango Papa, at W0ENO.org. Thank you, everyone, 73, and have a great evening.